The Wednesday week is sponsored by the Riverside Cafe. Stay dry. New undercover outside area now open.
There's a chance here. A great save by Turner from McClare. Might come. A terrific goal by Sheridan.
Brexman against Jones. Get in.
You could have two goalkeepers in there that would have trouble saving.
Hello there, ladies and gentlemen, and a very warm welcome to the Wednesday week, the Sheffield Wednesday podcast. I'm Lord Hillsborough, and with me on the line, first of all, we have Mr. Marriott, Jamesy Hobbine. How the chuff are you?
Do you know what? I don't want to sound dramatic, but I'm a bit under the weather. I've got a bit of man flu lingering for the first time in years. So I had a Lemsip earlier. And it's genuinely like 4 years since I had Lemsip. What I didn't realise until after I had it is that this Lemsip is 4 years out of date. So I'm not sure if it's done more damage than good. And I'm not kidding when I say it was 4 years out of date. Yeah, I mean, I might grow another head during the process of this podcast. We'll have to wait and see.
That'd be amazing. You could call you Two Hat J. Oh, you're like a cowboy and everything.
That'd be brilliant, because I can never decide which hat to wear. If I could wear two, that'd be fantastic.
Oh. That would be quite special, Jay. That'd be quite special indeed. Speaking of special, Fudge, Hobbine, how's it for you?
Who's this here? Who's this over the list? Hey, easy you look. I'm all right, Lord H. How's yourself?
I honestly cannot remember the last time I enjoyed your company, because we've kept missing each other, Fudge, Hobbine. And
It's been a while, hasn't it?
Absolutely, I missed you, old boy. Terribly.
Well, you know, I've kind of. What it is, I've turned into the Jordan Rhodes of this podcast, where I just turn up and do a little cameo and then bugger off. You know what I mean? It's kind of how it's worked out. You know, James is like Gary Hooper, just turning up everyone, starting line up every go, and I'm just here for a bit part now. That's kind of me now. That.
It's nice to have a chuckle again, because I don't mind telling you that I've been a little bit down up until last Sunday. I've been
miserable swine.
I really have been a miserable swine.
Are you feeling better now?
I'm feeling much better. My football tank.
What happened? What were you bitching about?
Oh, I stubbed my toe.
What was going on?
I stubbed my toe and it hurt terribly. Absolutely. It was utterly awful. But no, chaps, the Leeds game, it was absolutely chuffing tremendous. Eventually, wasn't it? That first 20 minutes was a little bit, and I thought Leeds did come out a little bit, but after that, it was just so nice. Not just to be in control of a game, but to be scoring goals and to have goals that should have been scored, and just to enjoy a football match for a change. How chuffing beautiful was it?
It was, and I think probably the best thing about it was the fact that it was kind of unexpected, because, you know, before the game, you know, in the pub and stuff, it wasn't, I wouldn't say it was quiet, but it was just a little bit muted. There didn't seem to be a great deal of excitement about it, and I'd seen so many people on Twitter saying, oh, would it be all right to just stay at home and watch it on Sky today and not go to the game? And that kind of like negative undercurrent, you could tell was still kind of there. And me and my mate John kind of said beforehand, I think it was him that said this, and said it could kind of go one of two ways, which is we could either, you know, record a really good display and a quality victory, or we could get turned over, and it's likely to be one or the other. And I'm not sure either of us particularly expected it to be the former. We thought it's a lot more likely that Leeds are going to do us here, just because of the way that things have been over the course of the week. So it was a surprise, but it was a very nice surprise. And you know, let's be clear. I mean, it was our best performance of the season. Yeah, Leeds did look the better team in the first kind of quarter of an hour, 20 minutes or so. And, you know, they probably should have, maybe they could have got a goal or two. And I know, you know, football doesn't work this way, and it would have been a different game if they'd have, you know, taken the lead or whatever. But, you know, we probably should have won that game about 8-2 altogether, because the number of chances that we had, the offside goal that clearly wasn't offside, Hooper hitting the bar, Fletcher missing a bit of a sitter, and a couple of other chances as well. You know, we should have won by more than 3. And the thing that I liked the most about the whole day, and there were a lot of real positives from it, but what I really liked was in the Riverside after the game, there was genuine debate going on about who man of the match was, and almost every player on the pitch was mentioned as a contender for man of the match, and it was like there wasn't anyone that played bad, and there were a lot of players that turned in really good performances, and we couldn't agree between us as to, you know, who was genuine man of the match. And I think, you know, there was, you know, Bannon obviously was great, Hooper was brilliant, you know, Reach had a storming game, and the list just goes on and on and on. Fletcher, I thought, was outstanding. You know, it was great to all sit around and just talk about how well we played as a team, and probably the first time this season where it's really clicked for us as a team.
So you're telling me that in the pub at some point somebody's gone, "Hey, Oxon, how did you think man at match were?" And some bloke with a pint of Belgian Blues turned around and gone, "Well, Liam Palmer."
I tell you what, Mr. Palmer had a cracking game. I thought when he came on,
he did something. He beat a man,
Yes.
and we've not seen him do that for about a year. Bless him. He's not really had the opportunity to do it for about a year.
Aren't we quite romantic as a group of fans? You know, Liam went to the playoff final in 2005, and he's been with the club his entire career, and it's great to see local lad doing well. But he just had a good game for Liam Palmer, didn't he? Do you know what I mean?
I think he gets some right stick from the Wednesday fan base, to be honest. I think
He
quite
does now.
unfairly he gets absolutely ripped to shreds, and
Yeah.
you know, I think it's probably a fair accusation that maybe we have, as a team, have slightly left him behind, and obviously the team's stepped up a quality, and you know, I think Palmer is of a certain level, and it's certainly not a bad level, but whether it's quite up to where we are now as a team, I don't know. But then he's not really had a great deal of chance, has he?
Well, no, and you know, his face looks like he needs an iron. But like, I think you're right. Though.
Hang on.
Well,
this is this damn
people in
Fudge
glass houses and all that. I get
making
that.
comments about someone else's
People's
face.
craggy face. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, hey, Pat, it's Kettle. Oh, hey, Kettle, what's going on? Yeah, you're black. Right, you know what I mean? But no, sorry. Yeah, that was just a scathing gag. But with Palmer, I think you're right. I think we've moved on as a team, and I don't think he's gonna. It's not like there are two people vying for that spot. There's not two people, you know, on top of each other trying to get that fullback slot that he's got, or that he shares because the other guy's out. Do you know what I mean? For me, he's one of those people that there's a lot of them that we pay just to not even sit on the bench. We seem to have loads of them, don't we? You know what I mean? I mean, the list is endless, but I'm sure you've discussed this at great length over the last 6 weeks.
A bit. I mean, I think we have cleared out a lot of the deadwood, and I'm sure we'll talk about Lewis McGugan later on as a prime example of that.
Well, that was my little segue there.
Yeah, it was good. I think the thing with I mean, right back, Jack Hunt has kind of made it his own, hasn't he? And you know, we saw particularly in the first half kind of the way that Jack Hunt and Ross Wallace have got that understanding and the way that they overlap, and that does, on its day, that works quite well. Unfortunately, when one of them's having a bad game, it doesn't work at all, and it's quite poor. And I don't think you get that same sort of understanding between Wallace and Palmer. I think Palmer's a very different sort of fullback. But I mean, if Jack Hunt's going to be out for a little while now, because I don't think we know the extent of his injury, then you know, it could be that that Liam does get his chance and does get a bit of a run in the team. And you know, if he's been working hard in training, you know, maybe he can do something for us. I think he's not really had that chance this season. So if he gets a run of a couple of games or something, then maybe it's an opportunity for him to show us what he can do.
Maybe, but I remember I was keeping this point just to sort of say, does that not concern you? Because I don't think Hunt is the greatest fullback in the world, but to rely on somebody like Liam Palmer then does concern me.
I mean, the thing, we're in this weird situation, aren't we? Because we've got a left back option, we've got Reach, who's kind of become first choice left back, depending the kind of game that we're playing. We've then got Fox as an option, and we've got Poodle as an option. At right back, we've only really got those two choices. Hunt, who is pretty good coming forward. He's not afraid to run at a man and take him on, and you know, he does put in the odd decent cross. I think a lot of us are frustrated at Jack Hunt for the fact that for every good cross he puts in, the next one can be, a little wayward. And then you've got Palmer, who does tend to get a nosebleed when he's in the opposition area, and we've actually seen him have a couple of golden chances to score goals in the last 12 months. And he just, I don't think he knows where the back of the net is. Bless him, poor lad. But he's that little bit more solid defensively, whereas Jack Hunt can get turned inside out, as we saw in the game that shall never be mentioned again a couple of weeks ago. So, that gives us a bit of a dilemma there. The solution to this really is that we go out and we get we get a really good quality right back who's great coming forward and also very good defensively. The problem is there aren't that many out there, and they cost a lot of money.
Very, very expensive. Absolutely.
Yes, they are very expensive because everyone wants good. I'm going to say wing backs because that's effectively what teams are going out and recruiting now, isn't it? Is wing backs, which is the role that Reach plays. Is effectively a wing back, even though he is playing with someone on that wing. But it doesn't work in the same way as it does on the right wing, just because of the balance of our team being a little bit weird.
But anyway, I led us away from football there, didn't I? I led us away from the game. My apologies. Gary Hooper, I was in... now, those of you that know, those of you that listened before, I get a season ticket, what they call a season ticket, to the NFL games in London. So this year, there are 2 games at Wembley, and then at the end of this month, there are 2 games at Twickenham. Twickenham is by far my favourite because it's just built for a lot of people in the same place at the same time. Wembley is bloody rubbish. Now,
is Wembley good for anything at all?
It's just crap. It's just the only thing Wembley's got is that it had TVs in the Wetherspoons, which is where I was going. You know what I mean? So the fixtures came out for these NFL games back in January. I think end of December, January. And I knew I was going to watch, I think, the Baltimore Ravens during the game that we don't mention, and my team, the Miami Dolphins, on Sunday. So, which meant I was not only going to miss one derby, but both of them at Hillsborough. Do you know what I mean? Which is just an absolute stitch up. I just a stitch up by the bloody fixture list, and these tickets cost me, a small fortune. So I'm now in London, in Wembley, watching these 2 football matches. The first one went into... I missed like the first quarter of the Wembley of the NFL because I was glued to this telly, especially because I think everybody left to go into the pub as we pulled it back to 2-1. So I went, "Nah, I'm not going anywhere. You go on, you have a good time, Princess. See you later." And then the Leeds one.
Speak to your mates. That's terrible.
Yeah, go on. See you later. Yeah, that's it. And then the Leeds game on Sunday, we'd just gone 2-0 up, and I spiked my plastic pint pot onto the floor. And James will know this song quite well. I just started singing Gary Hooper's Dad across the Wetherspoons.
I still sing that at the games, and no one's got a clue what's going on.
It's a really weird reference.
Do it, and I one day live in hope that I'll do it at an away game, and at some point a bloke in front of me will turn around and go, "Yes."
I don't know what it is. Gary Hooper's dad. Gary Hooper's dad. Because I think that comes from what was it? It was Gary's first game for us. We got spanked 3-0 by Charlton.
Charlton, yeah, it was. And we got talking to Matt, who was the guy behind Samido Day, and his friends. And it was them that told us the story of that they were stood quite close to Gary Hooper's dad. And that's where the song originated from, and
instead of just singing Gary Hooper's dad. So yeah, every time Gary Hooper now scores, I'm now singing Gary Hooper's dad, and it turned out that there were more Leeds fans in that pub than there were Sheffield Wednesday ones. So but it was a later kickoff on Sunday, so I managed to see Kieran Lee's, and to quote your phrase, thunder chuffer. On the telly box, which I thought was a beautiful goal, wasn't it?
Oh, it was amazing, wasn't it? And
they're the ones you want to see, aren't they?
Yeah, Thunder Chuff had been used properly, not just by me on Twitter as well. I must admit, I was very proud. And it wasn't me that came up with that. There was a chap on Twitter, and I can't apologise enough for it. I can't remember the name, but it wasn't my phrase. But I am so happy to be seeing it used. Really, really.
Can we talk about the other Kieran Lee goal? Because I'm not generally a fan of talking about decisions that don't go our way, because it happens. But when at the game, and I saw someone sent me a screenshot of the TV, that showed just how far onside he was. I mean, that linesman had a nightmare. All game he had a nightmare. And he should be like relegated to the National League or something after that, because that's an absolutely disgraceful decision. It's not even close. Like, he's yards onside. There is daylight between him and the defender. It was an awful, awful decision, and it would have been such a beautiful goal. And I noticed even the club don't tend to do controversial stuff. Even they have put out videos of it from the wide camera angle, so you can just see how good a move it is, even though it was incorrectly ruled out. And I'm still a bit annoyed about that. And at the time, it was big, because that would have put us 2-0 up before half-time, and that would have been really significant. And it kind of felt like at the time that was, that could have been the game slipping away from us if they got one, if they pulled it back to 1-1 before half-time or early in the second half. It could have been a very different game. Was it 1-0 or 2-0 at half-time? I can't remember. I honestly can't remember.
I think it might be 2, actually. It was 2-0 at half-time.
It was 2 at half-time. So if it had gone to 2-1 before half-time, it would have been a different game, and it should have been 3-0 at half-time. That's my point. I'm blaming Reverend the Makers for this, because when I did find their beer, I just drank a lot of it. That's why I don't remember the half-time score.
And the thing is, it's really, really, really easy to get on at the officials when you've lost a game. But this, as you say, was shocking. And there was also rather a chuffing, blatant handball from Leeds.
Yeah, there was.
Well.
Yeah, there was.
So, and it was an absolutely disgusting. How the ref was looking at it. So, how on earth they missed that? And again, yeah, it's easy to bag them after they finish. But I was looking forward to a quick cricket score that game. I really, really was. And I do think that had it not been for the officials, it would have been.
I mean, the plus side to that is that sometimes I think when you give a team an absolute spanking, it can ultimately work against you, because your next game you go into it a little bit too confident. So maybe 3-0 is about the right kind of score. That's me, I don't know, trying to save a bit of face about it.
Trying to rein it in a bit.
I would have loved it to be another 6-0. I really would, and I think that we all needed that. But I mean, I woke up with such a bad hangover yesterday. I don't think, if it was 6-0, I don't know if I'd have got to work. I really don't. I could be out of a job now. So it's probably as well that it wasn't 6-0.
Did anybody else? And this is just coming away from the game, and it's not a whinge. I just think it's a point that I thought was a valid point, but a lot of people on Twitter disagreed. It was Chris Holt that brought it up as well. Hull City smashing Birmingham into the back end of last week. Did that, and let me be diplomatic about this, did that solidify just how bad a loss that was to you guys when we lost to them midweek?
No, look, I mean, football doesn't work that way. And the thing is that,
I get that.
Once Hull got the first, Birmingham have got to push, haven't they, to try and get the equaliser, and then you get the second, and you get the third, and it just, it falls apart. So I think there's a point there. I was gonna do a tosser joke there talking about Chris Holt, but it's not funny. I'm not gonna do it. No, I think it is a fair point, and but it just doesn't work that way, does it? Football, different game, different set of circumstances. Thing is, if the Hooper goal against Birmingham's given, which it wasn't as clear as the Kieran Lee one on Sunday, but if the Hooper goal at Birmingham was given as it should have been, again, that's a different game of football, and you don't know what's going to happen after that.
I think it also just goes to show what a fantastic league we're in at the moment. The Championship at the moment is just a brilliant league, isn't it? The quality of football is incredible. I mean, obviously, first game of the season we lose to Preston. Who would have thought that? And Preston have been going great guns for the season so far. And some bobs like that, I think it just goes to show what a wonderful, cracking league. And personally, I think it is far more exciting than the Premiership. It really, really is. Not that I don't want to be there. Of course I want to be there and want to smash that as well. But it really is good football, and I lost sight of that over the last week. I really, really did. The Championships were great. I just thought we were just sliding. And again, that's just my negativity as a Wednesday fan. Unfortunately, we don't always expect what we should do, should we, boys and girls? But yeah, it's brilliant.
On the other hand, though, we have got Bolton.
Good point.
Because I mean, they're hopeless, aren't they? There is always one team, isn't there, that's kind of holding up the division. It was Rotherham last season. We've got Crystal Palace, who are doing a splendid job of it in the.
They're doing cracking, aren't they?
In the Premier League.
Did anybody see the video that somebody put
thinking
together?
that Bolton have not scored in like their last 7 games or something.
Yeah, something like that. Is Gary Medine still there?
Yeah. I mean, it figures, doesn't it?
Says it all, doesn't it? Yeah, he's having a poor time. I'll tell you what, keep an eye on Bristol City.
Yeah, I was
now,
going to say that.
I've got a good mate who's a Bristol City fan, so obviously I get updated on them regularly. I get daily updates on Bristol City, and Bobby Reid is the inform striker. I think there's only him and Hooper have actually got to 7 goals this season. And what makes Bobby Reid better than Gary Hooper has to be the gifs that are put on Twitter when a player scores. Have you seen these? These are just the best thing. Bobby Reid is him swinging a hose of a fire extinguisher around, which clearly has to be a knob gag. It has to be.
This is a Bristol City knob gag. Are these like the official club Twitter?
Yes, if you're going to, it's at BCFC tweets. Now, there's a player who I'm a massive admirer of, and I'm surprised that they've still got him, is Aidan Flint, their centre-back. And he scored for them in the last week. And he's got this beautiful one where he comes in and does that 90s jacket over the shoulder, raised eyebrow, walk in and walk out thing, which is absolutely beautiful to watch. So if you get and then what they've done with the Bobby Reid one is add in some cartoon smoke from the fire extinguisher. So there's now smoke coming from a fire extinguisher. I don't know why there's smoke coming from a fire extinguisher, because that negates the entire point of one. But they're still an absolute holocaust.
They sound great. The problem is we won't be able to do that, would we? Because we've got.
Nah, there's too much whinging.
I mean this in a nice way, but we've got a right miserable fan base. Us. I remember during the pre-season friendly games, they were playing around with different like graphics and stuff on Twitter whenever we scored a goal, and all people did was just, oh, we're not doing this, are we? We'll be doing stupid videos when we sign someone next. Oh, bloody hell! And people just whine about it. Like they just want a tweet that just says Wednesday have scored, and then people are happy.
Yeah, it's that one though that winds me up. There's one-word ones like delete, announce kit. Oh come on, man, get in the bin.
If you want to sort of see the other side of this and just see how much the Wednesdayites do enjoy nonsense, just have a look at my Twitter feed. I've got a few followers, and people do really enjoy a lot of crap on there as well. So it does swing both ways, I suppose. If I could possibly just drag this back to the Leeds game, you can tell Fudge is back, can't you? Just to finish that off, I would like to say a few little bits and bobs. Obviously, Wildsmith, I think he's had a cracking game there as well. I really, really do. Obviously, there was a mass amount to do. The Leeds keeper was horrendous, wasn't he? Did you guys?
He was toilet.
Oh my word! I don't understand how Leeds have got this far into the season with this chap in the net.
They looked defensively. They looked quite weak, and that's not to say that we didn't look weak defensively, because we did. I've got to say we were lucky to keep a clean sheet. But I think they just kind of they fell apart a bit. Leeds are falling apart again. I couldn't resist that. I mean, their keeper just looked like. As soon as the first goal went in, like the communication between their back four was really poor, and the keeper was dodgy. And on the other hand, I think Wildsmith did look beyond his years, as he always does. Really, I thought he had a good game, and whether like I say, I don't think we looked particularly solid at the back. I think we got a little bit lucky at times, but you know what? We needed that little bit of luck to keep a clean sheet, and whether or not that gives our back four a little bit of confidence now, that I think they really needed to kind of push on, work over the international break, and hopefully get back to where we were in terms of being, quite stingy at the back. This is not something we've had for the last, probably 3 or 4 seasons, is it? We've not been giving away silly goals. Even under Stuart Gray, we didn't give away silly goals. And then this season we have been doing. So, hopefully we can use that to push on and get back to where we want to be at the back.
I think for me, Leeds have been found out a little bit. I think when Chris Wood wasn't in the right frame of mind to carry on playing for Leeds, and departed, that was a lot of their game out the way. But but they seem to have managed to still pick up points going through the season. They're still. Yeah, they still, they've got the 5th. They weren't terrible last year, but they just absolutely fell off the face of the earth, didn't they? But their game plan was very, very Route One, and no, some would argue more one-dimensional than Sheffield Wednesdays. Mm-hmm. It was get the ball up to this big doorman we've got playing striker, and he will just bludgeon it in using any part of his body, which is essentially how Leeds played football. Watching that game on Sunday, I was surprised that they're as high in the league as what they are.
Yeah,
I think that they there's this accusation, isn't there, that Wednesday don't have a plan B, and I think we definitely saw that was true of Leeds on Sunday. And I think it was Vic's dad Bill that made the point about I can't remember his name, but their number 9, their big signing, their big striker, that his body language and stuff like that, when it wasn't going his way, when he didn't score early on, and then when Leeds went 1 behind, 2 behind, he just looked disinterested, and it did fall apart for them, and that's I think for them probably a worry, which is that when they're winning games, everything's great, but then when they're not winning games, it didn't seem like they really had much of a clue how to kind of pull that back and what to do about it. And that's got to be a good sign for us, because I think even when we're not winning games, we seem to, there's always this accusation that we don't have a plan B. I think the problem is that Carlos always has a plan B. It's just that all too often plan A doesn't work and we have to resort to plan B. But at least we can do that, and Leeds didn't really seem to know what to do.
No, they didn't know where they were going with it, did they? I had a question asked of me. I'm going to put it to you chaps. And now, James, I'm pretty sure I'll know your answer to it, but I want to know yours, Lord H, as well, if I'm honest. So, a chap said, and I actually put a similar poll up on Twitter. Would you rather beat home and away Sheffield United and Leeds and only make the playoffs, or lose all of those games and then get automatic promotion? Now, when you think about it, it's a no-brainer. But you know as well as I do now that game from them last week, conceding 4 goals at home and all that sort of thing, that's going to be something that they're going to be singing about for a lot of years. Just like us on Bloody Boxing Day the year before I was bloody born. You know what I mean? So that's going to be a game that they're going to talk about for years to come. Would you rather, I think it's essentially, would you rather get promoted than go through that again? Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes perfect sense, Albie, absolutely.
I mean, James is a sensible guy, and he'll just go, what you on about? It's promotion, don't be fucking stupid.
Yeah, it is.
You know what I mean?
But look at it from the other point of view. Look at it from the point of view of, if you asked a United fan, would they be happy to beat us home and away if it meant that we got automatic promotion and they stayed in the Championship? Because I can't. Do you think? Well,
no.
They're all a bit stupid. Maybe they would. I don't know. That is not a price worth paying. So if you said to me, we beat United home and away, but they end up getting promoted, would I be happy with it? No. I don't really care how we do against United. I would rather us win those games. I'd rather us win any game. But it's over a season. It's the same reason that I didn't have the the kind of the breakdown that a lot of people did after we lost to them, because it was a game of football and we lost it, and it was a more important game of football than most other ones that we played, but it was still a game of football, and now it's forgotten, and we don't need to worry about it anymore. We've put those demons to bed, and we get the hell on with our season, and we go after that prize of promotion, and that is all that it's about, isn't it?
I don't think it is forgotten though, because you have to remember that they have now got a commemorative mug for that game as well.
Yeah.
So
I've got a couple of United fans at work who've already put their name down for me in Secret Santa in the last week, and I can probably guess why.
I saw something on my Facebook timeline from a Sheffield United fan that they referred to it, and I can't remember the wording of it, but it had the word massacre in it.
Bouncing Day Massacre.
Bouncing Day Massacre.
Bouncing Day Massacre.
Oh God, they wind you up, don't they? We call them the pigs. So do you know what they're going to call us? Yeah, the pigs. Good one, lads. top bants. Do you know what I mean? Oh yeah, we called that Boxing Day Massacre. What are you going to call yours? Boxing Day Massacre. All right.
Do you know what?
Good one, lads.
I've got to tell you, Fudge. After we scored the third against Leeds, there was I'm going to say half-arsed.
Half-arsed bouncing.
Yeah, because there were a lot of people like me and my mate John just turned to each other and went, I'm not sure I feel entirely comfortable doing this now. You know, I think it's gonna take a few more 3-0 wins before we can quite feel right doing that again.
Well, yeah, we'll just put that one to bed for a bit. I tell you what, it
just felt weird. It brought back. It was like, I don't know. It's been in some kind of like weird therapy session. Like, you must face your demons to beat them. Like, I'm not ready yet. I'm not ready yet.
Yeah, no, not having it. Well, there are 3 commemorative T-shirts on eBay right now. You've got the Sheffield Bouncing Day Massacre, and it's used the. Well, I think that's Rotherham, but I'll have to get that verified. But there is it's off the council poster, and it's been coloured red instead of blue. Then you've got Mighty, not Massive, Sheffield United T-shirt, and then you've got Bloody Sunday, which I thought, well, I can think something more imaginative, but I enjoy it nonetheless. You have a good day, lads. I just hope that at the end of the season you're crying in your chip butties.
Whether you're celebrating a birthday, a wedding or anniversary, maybe you've passed your driving test, or you've landed a new job. Well, whatever your reason for a party, the Riverside Cafe is the perfect location on Catch Bar Lane overlooking Hillsborough Stadium. To inquire about hiring us for your function, call 07989 856 054 or 0114 232 6121.
Right then, ladies and gents, so let's crack on, shall we, with the next bit of, well, again, scant Wednesday news we've got for this week. First things first, James, you alluded to it earlier, Mr. McGugan has found himself a new club, hasn't he? Last photo I saw him, it was rather a portly chap, or to coin a Fudge phrase, a big stag.
Big stag.
Are we happy for Mr. McGugan, or are we just happy to have him off the wage bill now?
Well, he'd gone anyway, hasn't he? He left by mutual consent during the transfer window, so it didn't really make a lot of difference to us. I mean, the only reason I wanted to talk about this was just a little bit because I was quite surprised. I thought, he would. We've kind of joked before, haven't we, about offloading kind of our players on Bolton and whatever. But you'd look at other teams like Burton and some of the other kind of bottom end championship teams and thought. You'd have thought that one of them would have taken a chance on a guy he scored plenty of goals in the Championship, and he's ended up. Northampton aren't. I mean, they've already sacked a manager this season because they were doing so badly in League One. So I was just a bit surprised that that's where he's ended up. I mean, I think they've got Jimmy Floyd Hasselbank as manager now, haven't they? So maybe he's been sold that club quite well, and they've got quite high ambitions in terms of possibly making a good. Go at the Championship over the next couple of years or something. But you would imagine that he should be able to tear League One to bits, really, if he plays to the best of his ability. We know that he can be a good player on his day, and he falls into that Liam Palmer category from earlier of kind of players that we left behind that were no longer really of the level that we need moving forward. But you've got to imagine that he'll do a cracking job in League One. And I kind of hope that he does. I have no particular hard feelings about him. I wish he'd have gone before he did. And I think, we do feel like he spent a year just drawing a wage out of us and doing, literally nothing. And it's a shame, really, that it all did turn a little bit sour. And by the time he went, it was a bit too late. But, I kind of wish him well.
I wish we had more... or just one example of his attitude letting him down, because that's now Forest, Watford and us where they've had is disciplinary issues the correct term? They've had attitude issues with him, and they've shipped him out of the club. I think going down to Northampton, he can be a big fish in a little pond, and he can, like you say, he can tear it up on the day, especially in League One as well. He's going to be an absolute.
Hello.
An absolute something.
I muted myself there. How'd that work out for you kids? No.
Can we play guess the word that you were going to use?
All right, so what did I say?
You said he can be an absolute. I'm going to go with twat.
I'm going to say an absolutely wonderful player on his day.
I went more Lord Hillsborough than I did on James on that one. I went there. It can be an absolute force to be reckoned with, especially in League One. Was what I gone with. So I think he can do that. But if anybody's got any examples, do you guys have any, or does anybody out there listening on Twitter send me some examples of his attitude letting him down? Because like I said, that's now the third high-profile club where Lewis McGugan being Lewis McGugan has been an issue.
Well, the famous one for us was the actually not long after he signed for us full time, was it? Where Carlos did this interview about how he'd signed a particular player to play in a particular role, and that player would then turn around and said, "Oh, actually, I'm not playing that role. It's not my role anymore." I think it was that he'd. This unnamed player had been signed to play as a number 10, but actually has said, "I want to play defensive midfield," or something along those sort of lines. And that's all Carlos said about it. And I think everyone kind of put two and two together, and it does feel like they did get four in concluding that was McGugan, because he was quite quickly out of the team and never really got back in it.
Yeah.
No, absolutely.
And there's also the fact that he didn't want to play in any of the under-21 or under-23 games. He's been training with the academy for the best part of 18 months. And I know we joked about it earlier, but the photos would suggest that he wasn't taking his
dietary requirements.
His fitness requirements all that seriously. So although we're never going to have absolute dead cert definite cast iron examples, are we? I think there's been plenty of hints over the last couple of years about where his attitude can leave a bit to be desired.
I think there's got to be somebody on Twitter that knows something. If you don't know something, just lie. You know what I mean? We could go down the road of like Hooper demands with this, couldn't we? You know what I mean? McGugan issues. I heard he had a tear up in Napoleon's this week. You know what I mean? Something like that. Just lie.
I heard Hooper demands a new song for his dad because he's not happy with it anymore.
I remember I was in the it's called The Moon Under the Stars or something, get it? This Weatherspoons in Wembley, and I remember that you walk in and you have to go up some little stairs to the toilet to go to the urinals, and I'm just walking down these urinals with all these people in these, because NFL is a sport for geeks. It's a sport for the 8 out of 10 times it's sport for the kids who didn't really fit in with the football crowd, and they found something else to subscribe to, and you know what I mean, and it's great for them. It really is. I even told a man off who clearly came for a football day out and wanted to scream and shout and flick V's and marking this geezer off. He got suitably told, but I don't think that's for broadcast because it doesn't. I was helping a guy out, but I don't come out the best in this. Well, that could be the outtakes at the end. Well, no, but I'm walking down these stairs, just singing Gary Hooper's dad, Gary Hooper's dad. Yeah, I shouldn't have gone. They shouldn't have let me in that stadium. To be fair, after that game,
But no, I mean, McGugan, I wish him all the best. I mean, it's difficult because when somebody pulls on that shirt, we'd all love to, etc., etc., etc. And you do think it's a bit. I mean, just to be a chuffing footballer, it's why would you not? But then we see it from our side. These are people that,
yes,
you know what I mean. It is normal to them, but to us, it'd be a dream come true. And to see someone just whiz it away like that it's just awful, isn't it? It really, really is terrible. But I mean, fair play to the chap. I wouldn't wish him any ill will or anything at all like that. And I hope Northampton do incredibly well. Right, so other little bits of Wednesday news. I mean, just popping ever so slightly back to the Leeds game. The police did thank both Sheffield Wednesday and Leeds fans for their exemplary behaviour on the day, didn't they? Do you guys see this?
I did. I was looking for an emoji at the end, like a cry laugh emoji or something like that.
I mean, I think the only reason that is because all the Leeds fans had left after 85 minutes when Kieran Lee scored, so they were already on the tram on the way back to. The Leeds fans are a bit like their team. Like when they're down and out, they're just gone. They don't care. They were out of there. They were already. I think some of them were back halfway up the M1 by the time the full-time whistle had gone. So yeah, there weren't any clashes outside the ground because there weren't any Leeds fans left to have clashes with.
I tell you, I've got to bring this up. You must have noticed this, James, as well. Now, I think all three of us have been on Radio Yorkshire, haven't we? We've all had a call.
I've not for contractual reasons.
Oh yeah, I appreciate that. But I think it's you, James, actually, that mentions that they are a very Leeds-heavy station. Mm-hmm. They tend to favour Leeds as a team they follow. They'll talk about Huddersfield on the Wednesday and the Sheffield clubs and a bit of Rotherham, and they'll get us on when we're doing well and that sort of thing. But did you see the muted tweets from them on the day? Did you notice those? They were
I didn't know. Were they cringe?
They were all from like the Leeds perspective. Like none of them were like, "Oh, outstanding Wednesday. It's nice to see this game in Yorkshire." Yada yada yada. It was like, and Leeds have gone down again, lads. Put your head in your beers. And they did this poll, and it said like, who's had the worst weekend? And you know what I mean? And in this poll was Birmingham, who got absolutely schooled by Hull City. Them or Leeds. Do you know what I mean? Everything is so Leeds based. It was so funny, and I remember thinking, well, that's hilarious. What are they going to talk about on daytimes?
I must admit, I mean, the times I've been on there, they are utterly lovely chaps. They really, really are.
They are lovely. They're a million years old, but they're lovely.
However, after the Leeds game, they always put out a little tweet, because I do follow them on Twitter, and I do enjoy their lovely Leeds type bants. They always put out a little thing that says, describe or match report in 3 words. So, of course, I replied and said absolutely chuffing wonderful, or words to that effect. Seconds later, there was another tweet put out saying any Leeds fans would like to describe this game in 3 words. Don't think they were terribly impressed. I really don't. But they are lovely, lovely chaps, and hopefully one day we'll hear Fudge's lovely tones over there on Radio Yorkshire in inverted bunravias all over again.
Bloody Yorkshire.
I like it. Leeds fan, sum up the game in 3 words. I left early.
Yeah, I beat the traffic. yeah. Yeah, can you imagine that just on Radio Yorkshire, just as you leave, just Sheffield, just get on the M1, you pick up Radio Yorkshire, and they've just gone, no, we're not going to put this bloody game on here. Let's just put some birds tweeting. So you're just like, you know what I mean? Just driving back up, going. You know what I mean? That's some nice noises to listen to.
It's a little known fact that all radio stations have on their playout system like an hour of very somber music, which is kept in reserve for when something happens akin to the Queen dying, and you have to go into kind of obit mode. I think Radio Yorkshire probably played that on Sunday lunchtime, Sunday afternoon.
Just a gong with wind in the background. Gong.
Their hour of basically Panpipes Moods Volume 5, I think was their choice.
Lift music.
I'm not sure if you chaps noticed as well, but look North was also rather quiet about the Yorkshire derby as well, which is always lovely to see, isn't it? Bless them.
Yeah, weird that.
It's funny. Right, a bit of more serious Wednesday news. Obviously, it looks as though Mr. Westwood is going to be out for quite a while as well, doesn't it? Obviously, we mentioned how well Wildsmith had done in the net, and rightly so as well. But Martin O'Neill, obviously, his country manager, shall we say, did mention that he's disappointed to lose Westwood. Described him as an outstanding keeper and a great lad to have in the dressing room as well. So, I mean, obviously...
It's really unfortunate. He's just broke into that squad as well. It's just, you know what I mean? O'Neill is not a fan of Kieran Westwood. I think we spoke about this before. But he's finally got a roll of the dice. He's finally got the nod. Yeah, not very well, Gaffer. And I think, hang on, was it not that he kept turning up injured or kept pulling out injured, which is why O'Neill's got issue with him?
I mean, he's a rather injury-prone chap, isn't he, Mr. Westwood? And I think there's reasons for that, because he goes into things full-blooded, doesn't he, bless him? And Nobody can ever accuse Westwood of pulling out of a challenge, and keepers do get a battering. They really, really do. And maybe that Westwood shouldn't have played in the Steel City derby, because clearly he wasn't at his best, and I think this injury was probably playing a part at that point as well. It is. I mean, we've always been kind of blessed at certain points with goalkeepers at Sheffield Wednesday, Tidman aside. But I'm not too worried about this, because I really, really have all my faith in Westwood now as well. And of course, we've got Dawson on the bench as well, who's a belting keeper too. But I mean, it's Westwood, isn't it? Crikey! I just hope he's not out for too long.
Yeah, I mean, you wouldn't. He's kind of integral to our team, but I make the point of the fact that I think we said, didn't we, after the United game, about the fact that kind of communication between keeper and back four seemed to have been suffering, not just in the United game. There's been a few games this season where it didn't quite seem right, and we did keep a clean sheet on Sunday with Joey in the net. So it's a shame that Westwood's going to be out, but I think it gives Joey a chance to show what he can do. I'll tell you what, he's got some real positives as well. His distribution is really, really good, and I think we've all said and kind of questioned at one point or another that maybe that's the reason that Kieran Westwood isn't a Premier League goalkeeper, because his distribution can really let him down. He tends to kind of kick long rather than going for kind of the throw for us to build from the back, which is how generally teams like to play, isn't it? And I think that Joey did that really well on Sunday. So there are worse situations for us to be in.
More importantly, are we now calling him Joey?
I'm calling him Joey, yeah. I'm calling him
I did not
Joey.
get that email.
Me neither. I did not have the memo.
He's a Sheffield lad. I just believe at some point or another, me and Joey are going to become good mates. I think. I expect to see him probably in something like maybe the Nursery Tavern or something on a Saturday evening, or maybe a Sunday lunchtime, taking in a Premier League game on the projector screen that you can't actually see when the sun's shining through the window. We'll maybe share. I don't know. I could see him maybe being a brewdog drinker, maybe a punk IPA, and we'll buy each other a pint and we'll become friends forever. Joey, if you're listening, drop me a tweet.
He looks like he drinks Heineken and Jaeger bombs.
I think he looks like a gentle, considered soul.
To be honest, I think he looks like he should still be drinking Dandelion and Burdock and Cherryade. Very young.
I tell you what, I've just noticed actually, James. We've just been talking about Kieran Westwood, and I've just remembered you've got your soundboard there, haven't you?
I have got my soundboard, yeah.
So in true early 2000s, late 90s Radio 1 style, surely every time we say Westwood, yes, there we are. I knew there was a reason we had that ready. I knew we had that.
You see, when I put Westwood hashtag drop the bomb on Twitter...
Do it again. You missed the noise. You missed your cue there, James. Do it again.
Very few people have got a chuffing clue what I'm on about. It's me think I'm getting rather old and not down with the kids any longer. It turns out all I needed was a 90s superstar like Mr. Fudge. Banging.
Yeah, and a soundboard. That's what you need. You need to walk around with your own personal soundboard. That's definitely what you need.
Well, that's made my day.
Well, chaps, I think that's just about it for Wednesday news this week. I have very little other sort of updates. Nothing really else has happened apart from Leeds game, essentially.
Well, they brought a watch out.
Obviously, it's a very nice watch. It's a
yeah, all right.
I mean, would you class this as an expensive watch? The watch itself there's 150 made, and it's £150 for this watch on there. Now, this watch is on sale without a Sheffield Wednesday badge on particular websites for around about half the price. But again, this is a Sheffield Wednesday collector's item. Is it worth?
Yes, that's the difference. For me, I didn't think it was greatly overpriced. I thought it was a reasonable timepiece. I thought, yeah, it gets money into the club, and those people that have bought the Dream Scene, for example, they've clearly got more money than sense. Why not? It's something to commemorate our 150th year. I was actually a bit devastated when I sat down to buy one, and they'd all have had gone. I was a bit, I thought, oh,
What, the
well,
watches?
You were attempting to buy the watch, would you?
Yeah, I was going to buy one. I was going to get one. I didn't get one. No, it sold out.
Surprised by that.
Ah, well, fair enough. In that case, if you keep an eye on eBay, I'm sure you'll find one, or other auction websites are available, I assume.
The £2
Yeah, absolutely. Pay a fortune for those. I mean, to be fair, the actual dream scene itself, if you were a chap of a certain means, would you not snap one up? Because I must admit, I would love one.
The
Yes.
850
I do-
ones.
Yes.
The full proper canvas.
The full
Job it.
whopping. mother
Basically,
chucker one.
we can sum this up, can't we, by saying if we were Eddie, then we would buy one.
Eddie's got 4. we know that Eddie's got a couple.
I think
in his room.
Eddie's bought a couple just to burn them on his log stove, just because he can. Yeah.
But, I mean, Lady H would not enjoy me sticking that up. She's a wonderful woman.
Put
is my
that in the
beloved wife.
billiard room.
But
I do.
she spends more time in the billiard room than I do, albeit she's an absolute diamond when it comes to that kind of thing. But it's one of those. I mean, they have now brought out the more affordable version, shall we say?
Yes, like the
Which
print
again,
version.
Have they brought that out now?
Yeah.
the print
It's
is
not
now
as big
out.
though. The what I really like about the canvas thing is that it has the dimensions on the website, and it says, "Don't select delivery. You have to collect it. Please come in a car that's big enough." It's just like it's brilliant.
Yeah.
Fudge turns up
Yeah,
on
bring
his
the
little
Zafira,
scooter.
darling.
Yes.
Yeah.
Don't come. I don't think my Mini would be any good at all, would it?
I really have enjoyed the tweets of people that have got the great big whopping mother chuffer one. And
Oh,
it's-
this is wonderful. Now, I've got a theory about this, Lord H. Sorry, I cut you off there. My apologies. I've got a theory about this, that people with money don't know how to dress. They have no sense of style and or panache. And there was one guy on there that, you know, you go to IKEA or something and you see some of the prints that do, some of the designs, and you've either got, bright red, brilliant white, black, dark blue, and then these awful bloody gingham pattern fucking tea towel, awful, and you look at them and you go, who buys that? Who's going? Yeah, let's just put that in the living room. Nobody buys that. I tell you who buys it: rich people. Because there's a guy on Twitter who and he was because he's rich, probably wearing red trousers. That's a thing as well, and walking boots. Red trousers, walking boots, and one of those straw hats you get on seafronts from a Lucky Man in Benidorm. You know what I mean? And but crushed because he wears it sailing a lot. And he's put it on this settee that can only be described as a crap version of our current away kit, right? And it's just like, you think that's who could afford it. These styleless, absolutely bloody idiots who don't even know how to dress themselves, let alone how to decorate a bloody room.
No, this was the tweet I was referring to, and I must admit.
Oh, is that the one?
Absolutely.
So you're watching it right now as I'm describing that. Look, describe his settee for me right now.
Colourful, stripy.
Yeah.
I think that's all you really need. And don't get me wrong, this chap is clearly a massive Wednesday, because nobody that's not a massive Wednesday, no matter how rich you are, is going to drop that kind of cash on a rather lovely painting. And fair play to him for it. I wish I could. And not get in trouble with my good lady wife. But I would have it above a rather more sensual settee, shall we say, on there. But no, fair play to him, and fair play to anybody that's got one, because I am incredibly jealous. I would love to have that in my possession. Right then, chaps, obviously international break is now upon us, so we've got a couple of weeks before the next podcast, but Wednesday's next fixture will be against the Mites of Bolton when it does come around. Now, I didn't mean that to sound as condescending as it did, but Bolton aren't doing wonderfully at the moment, are they?
Scares the absolute crap out of me, to be honest. And I think it'll probably be a harder game than the Leeds one was, because they've been rubbish and they've not scored for about something like 4 years. And they've got Medina in attack. I think, let's bear in mind the fact that the only game they've won this season is when they stuck 3 past us in the whatever cup it's called now, the League Cup. So, yeah, I mean, I think it's... I think it's going to be a hard game, and I think if any of us go into it thinking, this is easy, this one, it's a foregone conclusion, then we will get our bottoms whipped.
Yeah, it's got Birmingham written all over it, hasn't it?
What we were talking about the earlier on about Charlton, when we lost 3-0 at Charlton. Was it 3-1 at Charlton or whatever it was? And they'd lost about their last 10 games before then and not scored a goal or something like that.
Yeah,
and
there was also a protest. There was a protest before the game as well, wasn't there?
Protest before the game.
So we were never going to win that.
and Bolton has that very similar feeling to it. So I hope that we take it really, really seriously. And yeah, I mean, this is going to be, to be honest, I can see this being as difficult as any other game that we played this season, because we know that we can really rise to the occasion when we're playing teams that kind of play a similar sort of game to what we do. Bolton will be a different proposition. We know that Phil Parkinson is not a bad manager, and he's got results out of plenty of his teams over the years in difficult circumstances, and I genuinely think it's a matter of time before he turns that team around. It will probably be too late, but they will at some point start recording wins, and they will at some point get some points on the board, and they will win a game in the league eventually. I just hope it's not in a week and a half.
Yeah,
it's a difficult one, because I've been as guilty as anybody of sort of shouting from the rooftops about how wonderful we are and how well we're going to spank somebody, and then it's all gone boobies up and I've had egg on my face.
Let's never do that again.
Let's never do that again. I'm trying to refrain from doing it right now. But the thing is, it's not for us to have these emotions. It's for the players, and I think that's one thing we seem to say around about this time every season, that sometimes the players need a bit of kick in the arse, and I think they've had that this season so far. I think the Leeds game, hopefully, fingers crossed, was a turnaround, and we do tend to sort of try to push on a little bit. I mean, again, it has to be said, this is the best start we've had for a while. We are very good at ploughing forward when it matters to plough forward. We sort of sneak into the playoffs for the last couple of seasons. Fingers crossed, if we can rather be sneaking into playoffs, be sneaking into the automatic promotion spots. And again, I know I'm looking a bit far forward at the moment, but I just hope this is the kind of game that we are nailed on to lose. We did it last season. We do well against well-playing teams, shall we say, and we didn't do wonderfully against sort of relegation teams, essentially. And I just hope that the players see this and they don't go out expecting to win, and they don't go out expecting. But I think the pressure from the Leeds game, because they were under pressure with that game from the Wednesdayites, hopefully, fingers crossed, they're just going to take a bit of that into this game as well. Do you think that's going to happen, chaps? Do you? Please tell me it's going to happen.
Yeah, I mean, hopefully. This kind of comes back to what I said earlier, which is kind of how, in a way, I think it's probably better that we didn't beat Leeds 6-0, because I think then is when you can become overly confident. The good thing is we've got 2 weeks to prepare for this game. Carlos can really get his message across, and he's got to be the one first and foremost that recognises the fact that Bolton are getting towards that point of scrapping for their lives a bit. And it's difficult when you're playing teams like that, when they kind of abandon any desire to play any sort of decent football, and it's just about, look, we've got to fight and get points, which is about this time of the season where you get 2 or 3 clubs that realise that's how they're going to have to go about their business from now on, and they're the difficult games. And he's got to make sure they're prepared for that, and they're prepared for a bit of a fight. Hopefully, we should be really fit. We've had a lot of time to recover. We've actually had quite a few. It's only like a month, isn't it, since the last international break? But we've had quite a few games in a short period of time within that. So it gives everyone a chance to recuperate a little bit and kind of pull ourselves back together and press on. And yeah, I mean, it's about being professional, isn't it? It's about just going out and doing a really professional job, and Bolton will come at us, and they will fight for everything, and they will be throwing themselves here, there, and everywhere. We've got to have enough to be able to contain that and win.
And again, this is the kind of thing that will probably come back and bite me on the bottom, and I don't mean it to be, but I don't know if you guys saw the video of Mr. Medine in the nightclub after the Sheffield derby, being rather, well, Medine-ish, shall we say. And don't get me wrong, I love Medine when he played for us. When we were sort of scrapping in League One, he was a brilliant brilliant striker for us. But after seeing that video, he can get to chuff for me. He really, really can. I'll spot anybody who wears the shirt, but after I left the club and they're coming out with nonsense like that, whether they're boozed up or not, then I really do hope we can put him back in his box. Really do hope.
Yeah, I mean, Gary Medine was one of those players where he could have been bigger than what he became. And then as soon as he got locked up, I think when he did the judge not make some scathing comments about who he is as a person? Did he not say something like, "You are a textbook example of one of those overprivileged football players that there are people behind you working hard to get where you want to be, and your ego is something like that." Absolutely just tore into him. And I think that, you know, that told us about who he was and what type of person he is. And then this was at the advent of Snapchat as well. And a couple of players were on there, and the social media really blew up around this time. And there was videos of Gary Medine just waving his bell end around in a dormitory with Liam Palmer, and you just get the sense that he's just one of those horrible meatheads. Do you know what I mean? And sod him, you can get in the bin.
It's very much like what we spoke about earlier, where you just don't realise what you've got. We would sort of chop bits off to do what Gary Medine does, and yes, I would very much enjoy putting him back in his box. And I understand that I've put it out there again, and if it goes back to bite me in the bottom, I apologise in advance, ladies and gentlemen. Right then, chaps, do you guys have any little bits for this evening? I forgot to ask last week, and then I sort of disappeared, Jay. So before I do disappear again, do you have any bits for this evening before I'm incredibly rude?
I don't have any bits, but I do have a hat. If anyone that follows the Football Bobbles Twitter account, who make a variety of not just bobble hats, actually, they also make bucket hats, which are the sort that I don't know how I can describe them. They were kind of really big in the 90s. They made a bit of a comeback.
Just look at the 91 video.
You kind of think
in the crowd.
Carlton Palmer, I can see wearing one, and a few others.
Do you remember the video
I've got a hat, and I'm gonna give it away through our Twitter account. So I don't know exactly when I'm going to do this, because I am out of the country for the next few days after tomorrow. So at some point there will be a tweet. You'll need to follow us, follow them, and it's the usual kind of deal. As long as you follow us, follow them, and retweet it, then get yourself in the draw, and we'll give that away at some point before or around the Bolton game.
And can I just put a bit of a shout out there? The chap that won our last competition, Mr. Gray, I'll send you another message, but please do tweet us and or DM us. Just let us know what size shirt you'd like and where we can send it to, because so far we've got a shirt that it doesn't have a home at the moment, and if it doesn't go anywhere, Fudge will steal it and do dirty, awful things to it, because
nobody wants it.
He's a wrong one. He really is. Right, James or Bean, if we want to get hold of you up there on the Twitter, where can we do that?
At James Marriott. No football tweets upcoming. International break, and I'm going to Berlin, and I have tried to find a non-league game in Berlin. I've discovered it would appear the top 6 tiers of football in Berlin partake in the international break, so I can't find any football to watch while I'm over there. try as I might, I've gone down even to the 5th tier, and they have an international break as well.
And they still manage a break at Christmas as well.
And they still, they have a winter break as well.
Impressive.
Fair enough. Fudgy, old Bean, if people want to go you over there on the Twitter, and I must admit, I've been thoroughly enjoying your tweets just recently, Fudgy. So if people want to follow your nonsense, where can we do that?
Get me on Twitter at Dan Fudge. I've endeavoured to write more gags and try out a few more jokes. Because what I do is try them out on Twitter before I plop them in the pub. You know what I mean? You know, you stood around with the lads, you try a few out. And I've tried not to make it so football orientated, because I realise that the abuse I get on Twitter is more stop talking about football. So I've been trying some other bits. But while we're talking about Twitter, there's a guy that did a tweet that I've followed for a number of years now. A guy called Tom Anderson. I think you retweeted one of his posts today, actually, Lord H. He's done an animation of of what he calls the goal of the week, and it's the Sheffield Wednesday-based one. I've just retweeted it now. It's at Tanderson _SWFC. He's an artist, an animator, and he's done a cracking one of Gary Hooper's goal. Oh no, it's Kieran Lee's goal. Sorry, where he just catches it an absolute peach, and he does 3 different views of it, and he's done an animation of that. So have a look at that, and good work, Tom.
Absolutely. Of course, if you'd like to get hold of me over there on the Twitterage, you can do that at Lord Hates. That's L0RD_H. You can get all the podcast at TWWcast. You can get all of us on the Twitterage, on the Facebookage, on the YouTubeage as well. Is that a word? It is now. And of course, our lovely website, which is thewednesdayweek.com, I believe, James. Is that
no, well, I mean, close. That's actually the website of a band in America. It's actually the WednesdayWeek.co.uk. But you get it wrong every time. It's all right, you know. It's not like we spend time working on this thing or anything. You know, don't worry about it. You just concentrate on your Twitter page. All right, it'll all be fine.
Yeah, I know. See, Twitter is just, I don't exist anywhere outside of there, so unfortunately it's all I know. But there are lovely links that James pops out, and if you do pop to the Wednesday Week Twitter page, there's a lovely link on there as well, which is the one that I follow, so I don't have to type it in because I'm a lazy sod. It has been a pleasure as always, ladies and gents. Thank you so much for joining us. Be good, be safe, and we shall see you real soon.
There's a chance here, a great save. A turner from McClare. Might come. A terrific goal by Sheridan.
Brentman against Jones. Get in.
You can have 2